Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. And I am currently on the dev server, and the dev server is open for everybody, not just content creators, but also regular players. And you'll find in the description down below an instruction how to download the dev server, how to get on it, but also to the dev block where this new mechanic with the overpressure is tested. And I try in this battle in the background, I try out some various different shell types, mostly chemical energy based weaponry, HE, hash and heat, but also a special form of AP. And I try to figure out what's the difference. Is it an improvement or is it just different? In a nutshell, they kind of replaced hull break and they made the shrapnels much more dangerous, longer range. But there is also a shockwave radius, a overpressure that is now completely lethal, at least in theory, as it was described in the dev block. My testing showed that it mostly works. There are also still some things going on that are not quite 100% right. But this is why we have this dev server, why we can test it. And that also includes you. Inform your friends, inform your squad mates, your clan members, whatsoever, to participate in this test. The dev server is open today, which is the 23rd of March 2021, and also tomorrow. And you can then excessively test in custom battles, in the test drives, and also in regular battles how this works. Please participate. Please give as much feedbacks on the forum. Again, we have a link to it in the description down below, and let us know. Make it as objective as possible, you know, what worked, what was just like it was described, answer the questions that were asked in the dev blog, and then we hopefully get a different experience rather than testing such stuff on the live server where, you know, the game mechanic is unfinished, half-assed, etc. Gaijin makes us test this on the dev server, where we can now live with the game mechanics on the live server up until the point that this is finished, polished, and all the issues are ironed out. And I'm a huge fan of this. I and other content creators have begged Gaijin to do things like this for years, and finally, out of the blue, we see this. That gets a massive thumbs up. And to be honest, this is probably the best gift Gaijin could have given me for my 8 years anniversary of playing War Thunder. This is truly a very good sign and fills me up with confidence that sooner or later this becomes more regular, and that would be just good for everybody, for everyone that plays War Thunder, you know. So I don't see here any sort of negative thing. We, the players, can directly influence in this situation the development, a core, very basic game mechanic. Now, how should this work? Well, basically, as far as this worked in the past, kind of the shrapnels had to do all the work. The overpressure was also there, as far as I could see in the past, or currently also still on the live server, but it wasn't really that effective. It was mostly down to the shrapnels. Now, with this new mechanic, with the overpressure, both the overpressure and the shrapnels work together. So the blast can rip open weak armor plates, you know, where the penetration of the explosion itself would create a hole, through which then the shrapnels would go without losing any sort of penetration power or damage power, or would lose range. How this works in every single detail, I cannot really confirm 100%. But as you can see here with the KV2, I first tried out the anti-concrete shell, and that has a 5.1 kilogram bursting charge. But it sends fragments much further than the HE shell, the OF530, which is the stock HE shell, which has 5.83 kilograms of TNT. So it has a bigger bursting charge, but there are not that many and not that big fragments. But at certain longer ranges, when vehicles are not in a confined crew compartment, like here in this case, then the shrapnels deal the damage. Whereas then the overpressure would be very significant if there would be a penetration of the crew compartment. How this affects APHE in its various different iterations has to be seen. Now, this is also very important. If we see a change to how fragments and overpressure from big high explosive shells work, we obviously have to test the artillery strike. And I get here very close to the truck, the potato truck, the K-29 I think, and I drop an artillery strike on it and on me. I have more armor, whereas here the crew is mostly exposed from the Soviet truck, to have a direct comparison and also see on the impacts how far away the impacts are. As it stands currently, if you drop multiple artillery strikes on capture points, it needs to be more or less a direct hit to really deal fatal damage to the enemy open-topped vehicle, which makes no sense. And in just a moment we can see the artillery strike incoming, and there you could see it. The shells were quite a few meters away, and I lost some crew, but also they were, well, injured. And I think this is now a bit of a hint that we really need to now upgrade the crew survivability, the health basically. But that truck got really decimated by all the shrapnels. It was either an apparent ammo explosion, or it was indeed a crew knockout. However, the nearest shells were, I think, 3-4 meters away, and that is a significant difference to what we see currently on the live server. The next test will be the new Leopard 2 PL with the Heat FS round, and to be honest, it feels a bit more juicy. And there you can see also that the heat shell didn't do a hull break, but it was a crew knockout. So I tried to now hit the track, yeah, and as you can see, no hull break, but still the pure explosion of the bursting charge of the heat shell still is quite damaging. Again, a further hit to the transmission and the track. I deliberately tried to get as far away from the crew compartment as possible, and even that here was then a crew knockout. And to be honest, that makes much more sense as it is currently implemented, but I think certain further refinements have to be made. And again, that was a crew knockout. So where exactly the edges of the mechanics are, further testing has to be done, and then, you know, further improvement, and then the various different cycles of testing, improving, testing, improving, they have all to be made. And so I let you enjoy here in the background as a little bit of a hint what you can expect the gameplay. Now, for players that do not really use chemical energy based weapons, maybe because they haven't reached up that far to a tank that has a significant caliber for the HE shell, or they don't use hash rounds at all, and also are not really there where heat shells are the main shells for, you know, the first series of MBTs, Leopard 1, etc. This doesn't make the biggest of difference, except for the artillery strike, which is now then significantly more powerful. All in all, I have to say that this is a surprising move by Gaijin. What I am really happy about is that the dev server is not just open for a couple of hours on short notice, but actually 2 full days, and that they want our feedback. So in this case, Gaijin actually listens to the community. Now here, one more thing. This is the Ostwind with the mine shell, you know, the 37mm upgraded HE shell. And as you can see, those were now 4 hits with a 37 mine shell, 37mm mine shell, and the plane didn't go down. So that is a bit curious, because that shell has also more TNT. It should pen a bit further and then explode inside of the wing, or semi-armor piercing, you know, it should go a little bit into the wing, like a few centimeters, and then explode to maximize the bursting damage. And here on the crew, it just doesn't really fill me with confidence. Now the difference is not massive and huge, but I try it out either way. And you can see that indeed small shrapnels are going away from that 37mm, and here the HE shell goes through the gun barrel. That is one of those things that has to be fixed, at least according to the hit camera. Now let's try out, as we can see, the normal stock HE round that has less penetration and less TNT. And with the first hit on the plane, come on, I don't have all day, the plane goes down. With one hit, the plane goes insta down, whereas then the other one didn't go down after 4 hits with the upgraded shell. So that is one of those things that are really interesting. And also the shrapnel effect here seems to be just a little bit better. Maybe it's indeed that less TNT produces then bigger and more shrapnels, which then have overall more effect. That has to be tested, that has to be refined. Maybe it is actually that way, that those mine shells are not as efficient in taking out, you know, lightly armored things, which is weird because they kind of were designed for that. But anyway, let's now try out the STRV 122 with the HE shell here, and then let's find out if it is worth it. And yeah, again, we tracked it and it was not a hull break, but then aiming for the front of the vehicle, that was another hit, just a touch further up. It moves. And that was actually a crew knockout. So that is rather interesting. So here that was a little bit weird because I actually penned the crew compartment, but it didn't really activate the overpressure mechanic. And maybe I have not really fully understood it, but here that hit killed it. So I tried out now with a few other MBTs, and then we can see how it works. Again, if you are interested in testing this for yourself, in the video description down below, you'll find the links to download and get on the dev server, to the forums where you can leave your feedback, and also, which is pretty important, while you download it, you can read the dev blog, giving you the basic idea what Gaijin tries to achieve. So you kind of have your hands full with that, and I think that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you have fun testing it. As usual, if you want to get information and news as soon as possible, please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the testing fields of the dev server.